Hey folks, it's Matt once again. Welcome back to, how do I put it? Pretty much a night where I'm reviewing all three American Ninja films that were sent to me on Blu-ray by DMC, very nice guy, and this one being American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt. And again, I'm sort of filming this in the dark because I know October's approaching, and maybe for films of October I'll review films like this. I don't know, see what people think. Sort of in the, even though it's not a horror film I'm talking about, but, well, to some people it's a horrible movie, but American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt is one of those movies. I think it's an okay film. It's an alright film. It's not as good as the first two. This guy right here is a big reason why I can watch this film, Steve James. David Bradley, he's alright. I've seen much worse. And I've seen much worse. He's not as good as Michael Dudikoff. I mean, granted, David Bradley was more of a martial artist than Michael Dudikoff. Like, David Bradley had studied martial arts. But, Dudikoff definitely had that young Clint Eastwood, James Dean sort of cool, squinty, calm factor. But David Bradley has made a couple fun movies. There was one called Hard Justice, which was a pretty decent one. Took place in a prison, had some action scenes. A little bit of reminiscent of John Woo type of stuff. And I haven't seen Cyborg Cop. I'm not sure which of the other David Bradley films are the good ones. Now that I think about it, I haven't seen too many of his. The Blu-ray itself, if you're going to do this for features, don't bother. I mean, the features, there's no commentary, which is a shame. Because the first two got a commentary, but I guess the director didn't want to do a commentary for this. He did an interview. Yeah, I don't know why there's no commentary. But you have a making of with director Cedric Sundstrom, executive producer Avi Lerner, and writer Gary Conway. But like Gary Conway, he's in it for like this much, and Avi Lerner, this much. Even Michael Dudikoff, he's in like this much just to say that it wasn't his choice to not do American Ninja 3 because there was chaos in canon. They told him that he was going to be Superman, he was going to be Spider-Man, and that's really all he says. So whether... And then Avi Lerner sort of contradicts that by saying, well, I remember hearing that either he got another job or he wanted too much money. And Gary Conway, he pretty much says that it wasn't the film that he wrote and that it's hard to have a guy be the American Ninja. But that's really, those guys, that's all they say. Like Gary Conway, well, what was your original script? What was it? You're saying that it wasn't the script you wrote? What was the script you wrote? But that's never answered. Most of it, and it's like 13 minutes long, and it's Cedric Sundstrom pretty much saying how he worked on King Solomon's Mines, and Alan Cormier in the Lost City of Gold. And he's working as like in scheduling and in AD and behind the scenes. And then he sort of got hired to do one movie, and then led to doing this film. Because it was going to be a cheaper budget than even the second film, and there was still shooting in South Africa. He tells a little bit about casting David Bradley, and that David Bradley and Steve James got along well. And that's pretty much it. And I am shocked that David Bradley is nowhere to be interviewed. You would think, David Bradley, this launched your career. Granted, you didn't go into the big high rise of Stallone, Schwarzenegger, or Van Damme, or Seagal, but you still had a career. You did quite a few movies. So you would think he would talk about the movie that sort of got him that. But I don't know what happened to David Bradley, where he's at. I have no idea. It was just really shocking. No David Bradley interview. You also have a 7-minute audition tape for David Bradley. Sort of an audition tape David Bradley had made where he just did a little bit of everything. He read some lines, he showed some moves he could do, he showed some Muay fighting, like a guy, they pretend to hit me and I'll react if you get close, and doing some training with swords, and then doing poses. Just a little bit of everything for audition for an action movie, I guess. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the features. The picture quality, it is the best I've seen the film look, but it's not going to look like Avatar or anything. But I'm still glad I have this. Just I only had it on a flipper disc DVD with the second film, and I have it by itself. And I like this cover. At least Steve James is on the cover as well as David Bradley. And this is a time waster flick for me, but there's a lot of problems. I mean, you have a flashback where it takes place in this fighting tournament, and these kids are talking. They sound dubbed. They sound like they're 30-year-old guys trying to sound like little kids. It's like, what the hell is this? And then in this flashback, this robbery happens, and the dad of Sean, who will later be David Bradley, the guy's like, Sean, look out! But the fucking gun wasn't even pointing at the kid. Like, the kid's over here, right? Imagine over here. Here's the kid. And the gun's like right over here. And the kid's like right over here. But then the dad's right in front. And it's like, Sean, look out. I'm like, look out for what? The gun's right here. And the kid's like right over here. He's like nowhere near the gun. And he's away. Look out for what? The guy's going to shoot here, and then the shot will explode your son's heart? I mean, what the hell? The fucking gun wasn't even pointed at him. It was pointed at you. You should be doing, hey, me, look out. There's a gun pointing at me. That's what you should have said. But he gets shot. And again, the kids sound really dubbed badly. And you show that the friend of the dad, God, what was his teacher's name? Did I write that down? Because that was a name that I knew I would forget. Isuzu? Yeah, it was something like that, damn it. Anyway, his teacher, I'm sure I'll remember later. Anyway, his dad's friend who becomes his martial arts teacher does some training. It's about how the mind and soul over the body. And then it cuts to David Bradley's an adult. And you could tell the low budget was really showing in these movies. The bad guy is Marjoe Gordner. He was a guy who was like a kid evangelist, but then he sort of shied away from that and started doing movies. And he did some science fiction movies and so forth, and he was the bad guy in this. And he did fine as the bad guy. I don't buy him as the Cobra. I'm like, that's a cool name for a bad guy, the Cobra. And then this guy looks like the brother of Patrick Duffy. Looks like Patrick Duffy's brother. Is like he should be on the set of Step by Step, Day by Day. Maybe he'll fight Sasha Mitchell on that. It's like the brother is like look. He does look like the brother Patrick Duffy. So, but you call him the Cobra, and it's like okay. But I mean, acting wise, he's not that bad. But I would say you tell a little buddy because the bad guy's lab looks like Dexter's laboratory. Actually, that's not true. Dexter's laboratories look better than this. This lab looked like not that long ago, I talked about Raiders, the adaptation, where these 10, 11-year-old kids from 82 to 89 redid shot for shot Raiders of the Lost Ark, and their shit looked better than this fucking lab. It looked just bare minimum of lab that you would see in cheap sci-fi 50s movies. And that's an insult to those 50s movies. Just, again, I'm just saying the low budget is really showing in these movies by this point. And the plot, I don't really get the plot, Because at first it seems like it's dealing with super ninjas. Just like there's these people who like are in their underwear and their muscles are showing, and then later on, in like a split second, the lights turn out, then turn on, then they're fully clothed, but they're a bunch of pussy ninjas because David Bradley kicks the ass as easy as sneezing. I mean, so I'm like, is it that? But then it talks about how, oh, we need to show this, we don't have this tournament, this fighting tournament to find out who's the best fighter in the world. And to them, it's David Bradley. And that's how David Bradley shows up, and Steve James shows up. He's going to do like a sword demonstration, and then this other guy, Dex, who's the really, really annoying comic relief. Like the comic relief in the first one, the guy who at the end was driving Steve James in the truck and who said, I'm taking this bitch uptown. He did fine. And the guy who played Charlie, Larry Poindexter, still remember that name, in the second film, he was perfectly fine. This guy was annoying. He was a shitty actor. His dialogue was stilted as fuck. And he did not even need to be in the movie, really. And they show David Bradley fighting, and he wins. And David Bradley, good martial artist. Acting wise, for his first time, I've seen much worse. Hell, I think he did better than the guy in No Retreat, No Surrender 1. I forgot his fucking name. The lead guy in that. So, I mean, David Bradley did not great. Not as good as Michael Dudikoff. But he was there. Like, I could handle him. I could deal with him, David Bradley. Maybe it also helps that I grew up with the movie, so maybe that helps. But he's definitely a good martial artist. And, decent fight scene he has with the guy. And when he wins, he goes outside, and there's this friend that looks like his teacher's kidnapped and chases after them. And one thing I was going to mention before I go on, part of me wonders why couldn't this film just star Steve James? Like, if you can't have Michael Dudikoff, just have it star, have Steve James be the lead. I mean, why can't he be the American Ninja? I mean, I don't think anyone would get mad and go, wait a minute, he's not a ninja because he didn't study ninja. And it's like, it's American Ninja 3. I don't think anyone would give a fuck. Or you could do that, but just, take it from Steve James' point of view. Have him be the star of it. Although, to be fair and honest, at times it does feel like Steve James is the star, which is a good thing. Because it seems like throughout the film, they know that Steve James is the more interesting character, or the more interesting guy. Because it seems like Steve James, by the third act, gets more of the fight scenes, which is a good thing. I don't know, I'll get to that, but David Bradley's trying to go after these guys who he took his teacher, his friend, and he fights these two guys. And some of it's weird because he knocks a guy down, they're going down the stairs, the bad guy turns up, is right on top of him, ready to punch him, and then he just falls down. And I'm like, wait a minute, the bad guy's right here. They fall down the stairs, the bad guy's right here on top of him. Then he falls down, and I'm like, did he just give up? Did he run out of batteries or something? What the fuck happened? I don't know. Some weird Cedric Sundstrom. I don't think he was that. Sam Furstenberg knew how to handle action. Cedric Sundstrom didn't seem like the guy who knew a lot about action movies, to be perfectly honest. And the score is 50-50 for me. When the score is dealing with the more electrical guitar, like I'm doing a shitty job of it. Like, if it was dealing more with the electrical guitar bits, it's good. But then, so many of the fight scenes, especially with David Bradley, they'll do this annoying thing with, like, 5 piano keys. Like, da 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 da. It's almost as if a fucking drunk cat got on the keyboard and went da 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 da. And then George S. Clinton said, "Yes, you know, I don't have any fucking time to write this score, but you know, cat, you did it, recorded, done like dinner." And let's use that shit for the score. I mean, again, half the score is pretty good, but I hate that piano part. Da 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 da. Jeez, I that part of the score is annoying. And that's the thing. Like this movie, I like it because Steve James has a lot of stuff to do. He has some really funny lines of dialogue, and it's not like Steve James is in it for 5 minutes, then dies, or it's in it for 5 minutes, then disappears. And there's some, it's. I think it's like a 3 point something on to be. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's that bad. It's not a 3 point. I forget what it said on to be, but I'm like, it's not that bad of a movie. I mean, you find a direct-to-video action movie nowadays, and they're worse than this movie. Not all of them. You have some really good ones, like Blood and Bone is a really good one. Ninja 2, Shadow Over Tears is a really good one. Undisputed 2 and 3, and some of Van Damme's stuff like Wake of Death and Six Bullets are really good, but take Seagal's like last 10 years worth of movies, and this is better than those. American Ninja 3 is better than Seagal's last 10 films. That's the truth. And whenever I do a Steven Seagal marathon, I'll prove it. But if you wonder why I keep looking over here, I put some notes down, just some names, so further help my memory. Because I'm not the best with names and such. But like I was saying, David Bradley kicking ass trying to get to his friend, kicks a guy off a building, follows him to the roof, follows him downstairs to a pier, fights more ninjas, fights some underwater, does like a double punch on both ninjas. So you get some nice moves from David Bradley. And then gets together with Steve James and the annoying asshole Dex, and they get attacked by ninjas. And again, you look at this scene, you can tell they're more interested in Steve James, which makes sense because he's the best guy in the movie. Because David Bradley like fights one or two guys, Dex is fighting one guy with a fucking broom or whatever that he has or that he finds. But Steve James, he's a badass. He's like kicks like 5, 6, 7 guys' ass. Does like a two-fisted runaround punch on both guys. Elbowing people, punching people, knocking people's asses out, and then like settles down like, what a damn day. Like, it's just Steve James being a badass, and I really enjoy Steve James. Very, very underrated, very much missed. And then they try to figure out what's going on with this corporation nearby, and you have this woman. See, it wasn't really his teacher friend being kidnapped. It was a ruse to get David Bradley somewhere because they want to kidnap him alive to inject him with the virus. And then one says he's going to die from it. But then I'm like, okay, is it to show that your virus, I guess your virus will even beat the strongest man? And I'm like, was that really why? I thought you needed him like to use him for something else. Like you just need him to put a virus in him. I'm like, you could have used anybody. You could have used your fucking. Yep, he's gonna die. I mean, it's a fucking virus. It's the plot was just, I didn't really understand what the hell the plot was, and the his teacher was really this woman who has this Mission Impossible shit where she'd put on a mask and it's perfectly sound and look like someone else. Whether it be this American assistant to an ambassador, was an ambassador, or to look like this old guy teacher of David Bradley's, and like she's pretending to be the master. She's pretending to be this white woman with big ass hair. But Steve James keeps it going for me. I mean, he goes to cops, try to get some help. There's a guy who's like, "You're breathing my air," and like tells another guy, like gives him money. Now go see a movie. Cheer up. And he wants some answers. And then when he leaves, give me back my money. Heads out. Like, it's better seeing it than me explaining it. But Steve James is a whole lot of fun in this flick. And then pretty much David Bradley wants to get into this place thinking that his teacher, his friend, his master is there. And they go into these, what the hell you call them? They're kites with motors. Think of a big kite with a motor on it that you can fly up. And David Bradley and Dex are doing it, and Dex fucks up his thing and lands in this truck Steve James is driving in. And David Bradley flies his big kite. I guess because it's silent. But it's not exciting. A big kite in the sky is not fucking exciting. And he sneaks in, fights some ninjas, gets caught. Steve James and the guy get help from the female ninja. As she says something like, if he kills Sean with the virus, he'll prove the terrorists that he wants to sell to how powerful they can be. And I'm like, what? Really? By killing this guy they don't know just because he can fight? Or why? Okay. But the reason this isn't a rant is because Steve James is actually pretty fun. He's kicking ass with his black bandana, black headband. There's this little ninja, and he just pounds him in the head. Get out of my way. Kicking ass, taking names. David Bradley's. Although this is a strange thing, because it's the guy who shot his dad when he was a kid. But, and he gets the machine gun away and shoots the guy, and then it cuts back to the flashback of his dad dying, and now David Bradley shooting his dad's killer. But you would think there would have been a scene that, I don't know, shows him realizing that's the guy who killed my dad. You never have that, though. You never have the scene where he's like tied up and looks and sees the guy's face, and then a flashback of what happened, or realization on the guy's face, or David Bradley's eyes. That's the guy who killed my dad. Usually that's what you would do, but no, that never happens. They just decided, it's going from A to B to C, they just went from A to C. I'm like, what? It kind of helps better if you have the B in the middle there. And the reason that woman can do all this shit with the mask is that she's Trunichi. She's Trunichi, the ancient art of impersonation. And Trunichis are masters of it. I'm like, really? They can do a Mission Impossible shit and pretend to be people? Okay, that's what they're going with. And you pretty much get to the finale where Dex gets killed by an arrow, and I don't give a fuck. Steve James doesn't give a fuck because he's over here. David Bradley and Dex goes over here. Dex gets killed by an arrow. And Steve James never is asking what happened to Dex. So he never sees his dead body. By the time he fights David Bradley, he's never asking about him. So I guess Steve James gave as much of shit about Dex as we, the audience, did. Because If you ever watch that film or you ever watch it again, Steve James, he never is asking about him. He doesn't give a fuck. But even in the finale, David Bradley doesn't get to do too much because by this point he's kind of sick, ill with the virus, so he doesn't get to do a whole lot. A lot of it's Steve James. Granted, very low budget, but he shoots a bunch. And he gets his big ass swords and kills a bunch of ninjas with it. Beats up one, shoots on one. Takes on four with his swords. Then this asshole scientist who killed the Kunichi, the female ninja, tries to shoot Steve James, and that's a bad idea because he'll beat the fuck out of you and break your neck. You don't fuck with Steve James. Just snaps the guy's neck. And then out of the blue, David Bradley is in a ninja suit. And I'm like, when the fuck did he put on a ninja suit? Like, just covering his face. And it leads to nowhere. Like, all of a sudden, he has a ninja suit on. Just showing his eyes. Then he comes in, and then takes the mask off. And what was the point of him having a ninja suit on when, I don't know, was there a scene cut out? Was there something that was supposed to happen that they couldn't do? I don't know. Just, he's in a ninja suit and it leads to nowhere. Finds that the female Kunichi is dead, and Patrick Duffy's brother, or Marjo Gordner, turns out the lights. Enrique Iglesias style, whatever the hell that song is. Don't turn out the lights. It just fucking ninjas pop up, but they're pussy ninjas because he kicks their ass in like 3 times. Actually, no. Before that, before the lights turn out, that's the scene where he overcomes the virus because his master taught him about mind and soul over body, and he does this thing, and his muscles are pulsing, and you know, mind over body, so the virus doesn't affect him anymore. And that's when the pretty much naked men turn to these red-wearing, pussified ninjas, and pretty much Marjo Gordner just beat up. You think it's over, he gets back up, and David Bradley beats him up again. No, I'm like, I don't even think the bad guy's dead. It's not like a big explosion or going out the window and falling out the window, crash into a car, or blown up in a helicopter, or blown up on fire, or getting shot a bunch of times. It's just David Bradley does a roundhouse kick and knocks him the fuck out. I guess he's. I don't know. Is he dead? Is he not dead? He just did knock the fuck out? I don't know. Then Steve James arrives, and I like the dialogue is like, you know, next time can we deal with robbers or thieves or muggers? I can't, can it be one of those? Does it have to be ninjas? You know how long I've been fighting ninjas? And that's where you get that song, like the Cobra Stripes, dum dum ba dum dum. And yes, Steve James never is asking about Dex, and it's a very flawed film, as I've been saying. It seems like I've been doing more ranting than reviewing, but I can't hate the film because I like Steve James. I do like bits of the score. With David Bradley, I've seen much worse. I can deal with him as a lead. I've seen him much, much worse. And it's only like 90 some minutes long, and there's some goofiness that made me chuckle, and there's some low budget stuff that makes me chuckle, and I have fun. I'm entertained by it, and a time waster, sort of a so-so time waster, but mainly for Steve James. Steve James is the reason why I can watch this. He's a lot of fun. He's entertaining, and sadly, if you think about it, Steve James, didn't get that many films where he had a big role, because other than American Ninja films, Avenging Force, but then he dies like by the third act. Riverbend I didn't see, but I saw my friend Mike OCP's review, and based on his review, it made me not really interested in the film. It seemed like kind of a boring movie. There's a film he did with Reb Brown, but I've heard of, but I've never seen. I've seen the trailer. I forget what the hell the movie was called, but I've never seen the movie. Like, Steve James is the good guy, and Reb Brown is the bad guy. I think John Leguizamo's in it. I haven't seen that one. Hero on the Terror, he's in it for a bit, and he dies way too easy. So that was, I like Hero on the Terror, but that's one of the disappointing things of the film. He's in a tiny bit in the Delta Force. He's in a tiny bit, and I'm gonna get you, sucker. I think he's like a very, very tiny bit. I think in Weird Science or something like that. I remember like Steve James in it for a teeny bit. But I mean, big roles. The American Ninja films are mainly the only ones he did. So Steve James is fun. He's good in the he's fun in the fight scenes. He has good charisma and presence to him, and he's a reason to watch this. And he's a reason I can watch this is for Steve James. He's a lot of fun to watch. So, Steve James, rest in peace. I know me, my friend Effrey, and a lot of other people miss you a lot. Wish you were still around today. So, thank you, DMC, for sending me these Blu-rays of these three movies. It's sad that they didn't have Steve James for American Ninja 4. There was rumor that he was going to be, but they didn't want to afford him. They're like, well, we got Dudikoff and Bradley. No, we can't afford Steve James. Because I think there's another guy who is a black guy. And the rumor was Steve James was supposed to play that character. And then they just got another actor. And I don't know if that's the whole deal. But Steve James should have been American Ninja 4. He should have been. But who knows? Maybe he was too sick by that point as well. Maybe he was too ill. I don't know. But either way, that's my thoughts on American Ninja 3. And again, the Blu-rays, if you want better picture quality, because the features are nothing really, but I'm glad I have this for the better picture quality. So, thanks once again, DMC, for sending this. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.